Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 131, Year-End Retrospective. Where is your life today? So as you know, if you've been hanging out with us, this month has been all about how to practice self-care around the holidays, with yourself and with others. Last week, we talked all about self-care in terms of discipline and self-love. As a part of self-care, I think we also need to stop and look around our life, to take stock, to see what's going on, to see what we like, what we don't, and what needs to change. So today and next week, I want to focus on doing a year-end retrospective of sorts, to look at what you've made progress on, and then next week we'll talk about what's next for you for the coming year. So there's a million ways to do a year-end retrospective. In terms of self-care, I thought it might be better to do something that is more emotional and psychological than practical, if that makes sense. Although a lot of this stuff ends up being practical on the other side. So one of the things that we hear all the time is how gratitude is so powerful. And I think it is important to start and end with gratitude for a lot of reasons. One, to give us perspective that not everything is awful, even when you're having a bad day and it feels like it is. And two, to calm down your brain so you can think straight, so you can be grounded, so you can have perspective. So one of the ways you can take stock right now at the end of this year is think about what you're grateful for. More specifically, what are some good things that have happened for you this year that you're really grateful for? Maybe things that turned out better than planned, nice surprises that you're grateful for, or just basic stuff like a roof over your head and the people in your life are healthy right now. So gratitude around health and safety, maybe financial security, maybe having basic needs met. Even if you'd like it to be better, you're grateful for what you have. And having perspective tells us there are others who have less than us, always. And our brain is always looking for novelty, so that's why it's so easy to take what you have for granted. It's not new anymore. It's not shiny. It's a part of your day-to-day. You take it for granted that maybe you get in your car and you can drive to the store, or that you have a comfortable bed to sleep in, or good friends around you, family to love, maybe your pets, maybe you have a great partner, you're lucky to have good coworkers, maybe great neighbors that you've gotten to know better during COVID. So gratitude. I love gratitude, and I've said this before, because it doesn't deny that other things might be difficult. Just because you're grateful doesn't mean you're denying what's hurting. Just because you're grateful doesn't mean everything's perfect. It just means you're grateful for certain things. And the more we can practice that and find more things to be grateful for, the better we will feel and the happier we will be. Harder is to be grateful for the problems, for what they're teaching us, making us change, what they're bringing about in our life. That's harder. I call that advanced gratitude. Not all of us are there. Many of us will strive and never reach it, and that's okay. So your action item, however you want to do this, and maybe you're already doing this, is write your gratitude list and consider keeping one however often per week that's manageable for you and that helps you feel better and gives you perspective. Especially during the holidays when you might have an opportunity to show gratitude for the ones you love. To really be more present and kind, perhaps, maybe more patient. That's not always easy, especially if you have little kids running around who are all hyped up. Another area we want to take a look at for this past year was what was hard or hardest for you, do you think? Take a few moments, or maybe it's still fresh and you can't sit in it, and that's okay too. But just honoring what was hard for you this year and what was the hardest part and why. Now, the pandemic for sure has impacted you in some way, and maybe you have some specifics around that were difficult. There's a whole continuum of difficulty with the pandemic. Some people are doing okay, some people are doing horribly. For some people, it's a mixed bag and they're just burnt out. Maybe your relationships, maybe there's some pain there in this past year. Maybe some people you've had to pull away from because they're unhealthy, and that's hard. It's sad. Or you have conflict with people in your life that you don't feel is really resolvable, and that can be sad and depressing and frustrating. Sometimes angering. Maybe the hard parts for you have been financial. Maybe you still have some fear around things working out okay. Maybe you've come through hell financially this year and you don't want to go back. Maybe your health or a loved one's health that has been an issue this year. Where is your health these days? What's been hard? And finally, what about yourself? Maybe it's been hard to feel motivated to do the things you promised yourself, to not feel overwhelmed. Or maybe you find yourself in a difficult situation that you're frustrated you've gotten yourself into and you're not sure how to get out. An action item here would be journal or express yourself in whatever way you feel most comfortable. Some people it's journaling, some people it's drawing, some people it's dictating into a journal. Let yourself grieve if you haven't yet or haven't finished. Maybe share with trusted others what it is for you that's been hard this year. Just acknowledge the feelings, maybe the hurt, the anger, the overwhelm. We're not doing this to wallow. We're just doing this to acknowledge on a heartfelt, vulnerable level what has been your truth for this past year. What's been real for you? You're just validating it. And normalize your symptoms too, of the grief process maybe. Maybe you're still bargaining, doing the what ifs and the if onlys. Maybe you're still angry. Maybe you're just coming out of denial. Wherever you are is okay. It's all a part of the process. I just want you to be nice to yourself. In other words, if you're in the depression stage of grief and you had a big loss this year or a lot of setbacks, you're not going to be super motivated for a while, and that's okay. So don't shame yourself around that. Another area you might want to look at is, what are you proud of? Like maybe you're proud of the discipline you've been focusing on this year around your time, your health, your money, or maybe your relationship behaviors. Maybe you're proud of practicing good boundaries within and without. Maybe you're proud of yourself for waiting, for trusting the process and just doing the work and not focusing on the outcome. And now that you've reached the end of the year, you've seen some results of that day in, day out, one foot in front of the other efforting. The commitment, the not giving in when you got tired, when you got frustrated, when you couldn't see enough results yet, you kept going. Be proud of yourself. And there's nothing too small here, by the way. Even saving $10 a week is $10 more than you had last week. Even tidying up a little bit before you walk out the door feels better when you walk back in. Everything begets everything. Like we've talked about, growth will always beget growth. You're going to want alignment. So doing the small things really add up, small habits that you're building. They matter. Going for a walk every day matters. Not in that moment, but over time, there's a cumulative effect that I think we underestimate and I think we forget. I know I do sometimes. I think, oh, where's the instant gratification, right? Be proud of yourself for what you have been practicing this year. And we don't do perfect. We do progress. We do effort. We do the best we can. And we do it because we choose to and we want to. So in other words, be proud of inching towards your goals for yourself, for aspiring to be healthier, to be happier, to be more confident, to be more grounded. If you've been listening to the show all year, I know it has made you think and it has made you make some changes in your life, even if it's just in your heart at first. That's doing the work. Be proud of that. Be proud of yourself for being courageous, for speaking up, for learning to let go, sometimes having to walk away, whether it's walking away from a bad relationship or the donut you want to eat, for the courage to grieve towards acceptance. That is not for sissies. For the courage to face hard truths about your life, even about today, to face them about yourself, like how you got into situations and how to get out if possible, how to rectify things, how to make things right that you're not proud of. That takes courage. For taking responsibility for your thoughts, feelings, and choices, that takes big ones. Because once we own it, we have to own it. And that commitment can be scary because for those of you who struggle with perfectionism, what if you make the wrong commitment? What if you make the wrong choice? Commitment takes courage. There are no guarantees, but you've been doing things for your why. Trust your why. Believe in your why and believe in yourself. Maybe you're proud of where you're growing this year. Maybe you've been doing some deep soul work. Old trauma, new pain, all of it. Grabbing the courage to heal what you've been carrying around about your self-esteem. Maybe practicing healthier communication. Perhaps you've been working on being more emotionally honest, both with yourself and others. Not at every moment. Not as much as you would like to yet, but the more you do it, the better you get. It's about trying, and it's not about doing it perfectly and controlling the outcome. It's not all the time. It's just about being committed, and being committed when you wake up again tomorrow to being vulnerable when it's better to be vulnerable. It's about letting the right people in more to see the real you. And it also, trying to show up and be more present for them too, because it's not all about us, no, is it? Just little bits. Practice, practice, practice. Learn, learn, learn. More practice, learning, deciding, understanding, figuring out, accepting with compassion. Maybe you're proud of boundaries you're getting better at. Boy, that's a huge paradigm. So please, I tell clients all the time, please be patient with yourself. This is going to take a minute. You're going to start out with the obvious stuff like practicing saying no and maybe hearing no and not taking it as rejection, of detaching from the outcomes from other people's choices and focusing on your own. That's not easy. If it were so easy, we all would do it naturally. Learning the art of subtle boundary work, like emotional boundaries, time boundaries, psychological boundaries, knowing who owns what in a situation, respecting that, staying in your lane. There's a million ways to stay in your lane, not just the obvious ones. So be proud of even wanting to work on boundaries, because that is going to change your entire life It's not always easy. Not everybody likes it when you do it. It takes big ones to do boundary work. And everything else gets better when we do, though. Another area that you want to look at is things you used to think or believe that by the end of this year have really changed or are starting to change. Because maybe you're realizing that some of your old beliefs may have been limiting or simply not what you choose to believe anymore for your own why. Maybe you've tackled them and turned them on their head. The ones that nothing can change or nothing can get better, or the belief that I'm stuck where I am and I can't do that. Beliefs that say you'll never get that promotion, that being open to joy and others is not good. You know, the old survival mantras may have gotten you to now, but they'll actually limit your life in so many important ways. Boy, can I tell you, as a counselor and a coach over the years, it's so sad. And beliefs drive the bus. They're driving our behavior whether we're aware of it or not. It behooves us to become aware of what we really believe at the core. So if you're working on this, this is great. And your action item would be just keep allowing this to unfold. Because as you gather experiential data, I think your beliefs will continue to either change or form as new ones to match your new life that you are building. Because again, you're going to want alignment. And I want you to focus on the freedom that comes from maybe formulating new beliefs, letting go of old ones, whatever you come up with, because it's going to feel like it matches who you are a lot better, and you're going to feel more grounded and confident. Another big area to look at is maybe fears you're tackling. Boy, this can be such a long list for some of us. First, maybe you've been working on where the fear came from way back in your life, like early trauma, maybe an emotionally chaotic household, from not trusting yourself to take care of yourself. Maybe there is fear of putting yourself out there more, taking a risk, trying new things, showing your talents. Maybe you've been working on fear of conflict that keep you from speaking up or saying what you need in relationships. What about the fear of being wrong or being imperfect or being let down or disappointed? Sometimes we protect ourselves from that too if we've had trauma around that. If you had important people let you down in ways they weren't supposed to, you might play it real safe in your adult life so that doesn't happen anymore. Maybe you're working on the fear of losing love because you have in the past, so you don't want to be hurt again. You know, our two biggest fears are abandonment and entrapment. And if you think about it long enough, you can see how they are underneath all of these fears I talked about and all the other fears we have pretty much. So whatever fears you've been tackling this year, be so proud of yourself and keep going. Don't give up. Because fear is a soul killer. It's a robber of relationships, I think. It steals your contentment and your joy. And I think it keeps good opportunities at bay. On one hand, life is so precious and so short, so keep tackling them. Every time you do, you will feel better and you'll raise your confidence to go after even bigger fears. So your action item is to be so proud of yourself first. You know, your brain is not making it easy because it's been trying to protect you. Go back to the beliefs we just talked about and write down something to help you. Like, it's okay to trust trustworthy people, or I can try this new thing and I can change my mind if it doesn't work out. You're telling your brain it's all good. We're good. We don't have to freak. It's not all or nothing. A lot of decisions are not perfect or horrible. We can try things. We can try things and gather the data and see what we think and see what we're figuring out and what we're learning. And then we can decide. That puts you back in the driver's seat. Do you see the difference? Fear makes us look out there for all the power. When the true power is within and what you figure out along the way, maybe the hard way sometimes, that's okay. But you learn. And then you become more confident. It's like riding a bike or driving a car. You're learning. And you become more confident and you trust yourself more and you trust the data you're taking in. So keep going. Don't give up. Do what's next, and you'll know what's next to tackle when it comes to fear, because it will show you. And finally, we can look at what lessons came up for you this year, or are still coming up for you perhaps. Now, we want to look at life lessons, I think, as not as harsh punishments or mistakes, but gentle truths that exist for all of us. No one is exempt. It's called reality. You know, kind of like gravity is reality. You've heard the saying that we will repeat the life lesson until we have quote unquote learned it. Or maybe I think have done the healing that needs to be done so we don't have to do it again. Examples of gentle life lessons are learning you're lovable and deserve the best for you. Because if not, if you don't fully embrace this at your core, you'll continue to settle for less than what you need and deserve. In relationships, in job, in your life in general. Because you'll live out that distortion that you don't deserve anything better. You don't deserve to be treated better. And you don't deserve to treat yourself better. This isn't about ego, it's about deserving what everyone deserves. To be loved, to be appreciated, to be honored, to be challenged, to be paid well, to be protected from harm. Learning that actions have consequences is another part of life lessons. You know, maybe your lesson was you weren't thinking ahead to what could happen. Maybe your lesson was rescuing doesn't end well, nor does wishful thinking. Maybe you've been working on some hard lessons around not taking responsibility in the past in some area, and now you're feeling the emotional, the physical, the financial, or relational pain. Because if we sit there and look at something long enough, we can see that there usually aren't vacuums. Yes, there are things that happen outside of our control. But if we look at cause and effect for a lot of pain in our life, it's often self-inflicted. Learning to grieve is really important when we're learning lessons. It's the only way to acceptance, and in essence, it's letting go of control, which is also facing the fear that you can let go and it's going to be okay. And that sounds really easy and hard to do in reality for a lot of people. If you grew up with bad things that you couldn't control, persuading you to let go is not going to be easy. You're going to need to know that it's going to be okay. That's why an action item here is first, don't shame yourself around this. Love yourself into acceptance. That most of the reasons you've done the damn lessons is not your fault in the first place. It isn't. We've done plenty of episodes around causality here. Today, it is your choice to learn them so they can go away, right? So life can get healthier and better and not so much pain for you. That's why the first thing I have clients ask themselves is who owns what? Is there something I could have done differently to prevent that? Was that within my control? Is it a pattern in my life that I want to look at? Do I bring people into my life, let's say, that don't treat me well? Ones that I can't trust? Ones that I have to rescue? Do I say yes to less than what I need? Things like that. So doing some journaling around this and talking to trusted others can be really, really helpful around lessons learned. And just let it unfold. It's not easy, but it is powerful work. That'll change you. Because again, you bring it back inside and you own, this is a lesson and I can either learn it or keep repeating it. It is my choice. I have a choice and I get to own that. Life is not just beating me up to beat me up. I can make changes to make things better in my life. but not until I uncover what the true lesson is. And that's why, again, it is so important to learn to grieve and to look at your beliefs and values that you have been holding all these years. Okay, so all month, we've been talking about different ways to take care of ourselves. And now we're in the holiday season, end of the year, doing a retrospective. And today we took a moment and looked back on how your year has been, from things you're proud of, to the difficult things, to all the learning, the practicing, the realizing, and coming to terms with as you walk along. Next week, join us as we take this retrospective and we look ahead to the coming year in terms of what your intentions are and what you would like to see. Thank you so much for joining me today. May you stay healthy and sane and grounded in this busy holiday week. Always hold on to hope and be hope for others. Try to find some good this week and some gratitude. Be sure to check the show notes at ownitpowercast.com and sign up for the newsletter each Tuesday if you don't get it already. That's where all the bonus downloads are and all the rest of the information. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.